Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Madison Milwaukee Exchange, brought to you by our friends at Milwaukee Downtown and Downtown Madison, talking about big subjects between the two largest downtowns in the state of Wisconsin. We are really excited about our conversation today because there's been a ton of partnership between the two downtowns in night markets. And we've got the leaders from Westtown and Madison Central Business Improvement District here to discuss the night markets, their importance, and in a great exchange they had over the last few months. We wouldn't be here, though, without our sponsors. Our major series sponsor, our good friends at Reinhardt. Reinhardt, thank you for all you do for both downtowns. Board members serve on both of our organizations. And our supporting series sponsor, Whipley, a fantastic nationwide company. We really appreciate all of the work that goes in to making our downtown better by both Reinhardt and Whipley. All right, we're going to start by saying a huge thank you to our friends at Reinhardt. And we've got Maginette Mula here with the team at Reinhardt in Madison and a bonus, a former DMI employee. It's like the best of all worlds. Maginette, how are you doing?
Good morning, Jason. I'm doing better now that I'm seeing everyone join and support both of our downtowns early at 8 a.m. in the morning.
I love it. Sorry, yes, we love a good Friday 8 a.m. special here. Sorry about that.
But very happy to be here. I'm very happy to still be a part of all of the DMI events from another area of my life now. Um, Good morning, everyone. As Jason mentioned, my name's Migena. I'm a real estate attorney with Reinhardt in our Madison office. Reinhardt is a full-service law firm with multiple offices, including in Madison and in Milwaukee, and we're a proud sponsor of DMI's and Milwaukee Downtown's Madison and Milwaukee Downtown Exchange. And as both downtowns continue to evolve and to formulate these incredible events, Reinhardt is committed to assisting our clients and communities and sparking collaborations as we all continue to grow with the changing landscape that surrounds us. So, on behalf of Reinhardt, I would like to thank you for being here and for supporting both of our downtowns. And with that, I will turn over things to Jason so that we can continue the rest of the event.
Well, thank you again, and thank you to the team at Reinhardt and also our friends at Whipley for making this possible. Right, big things happening in both downtown Madison and Milwaukee. Our friends in Milwaukee downtown had their annual meeting, their annual celebration just yesterday, also at 8 a.m. So they've been getting everyone up early, as we are. We're having an event a week from now on the storefront experience in downtown Madison at 8 a.m. So big things happening in Milwaukee. Also in Madison, we are knee deep in our greater downtown economic investment strategy, our downtown strategy. So please do participate in that as well. And I just want to say an apology, but I want to give everyone a call to action. Look, I know that John Nolan Drive is down to one lane in each direction for the next 2 years, but you should all support downtown Madison, the local businesses. 80% of the businesses in the bid are locally owned. So now is the time, no matter what the commute looks like, to come downtown and enjoy downtown. Maybe come downtown this weekend for lots of things happening, including some big activities in the Capitol Square, plus Ohio State versus Wisconsin downtown. So please come and support our downtowns. We're going to jump right into it today. We've got two amazing organizations that we work with constantly in the downtowns in Madison and Milwaukee. First, we have our friends from the Westtown Association, and we have Stacey Callis, the executive director of the Westtown Association, and Megan Gawa, who is the marketing and events director with Westtown. And from the team in Madison at Madison Central Business Improvement District, we have Matt Trammell, executive director, and Chris Gabbert, events and programming manager, who are going to talk about the night markets, the synergies between the two, the importance, why this matters to bring folks into our downtowns. The first thing we're going to do, though, is hear more about each respective night market. And we're going to hear a presentation from each of the groups about what they're doing. And we're going to start with our friends at Westtown, and then we'll hear from Madison. So I think we're going to begin with Megan. Megan, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, doing well.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we're excited to hear about the Milwaukee night market.
Awesome. Here we go. I'm actually gonna have Stacy lead us off here.
Thank you so much, Jason. So happy to be with you all today to talk about the Milwaukee night market with our friends from Madison. As Jason said, my name is Stacy Calise. I'm the executive director of the Westtown Association. While the Westtown Association assumed production of the night market in 2021, the event has some history that I want to talk about. It's really important for us to talk about how we got to this great 25,000 person attendance event that we have today. So our association, as you can see, is a downtown business association that is focused on the revitalization of the area west of the Milwaukee River in downtown Milwaukee. So Megan, if you could go to the next slide, as I said, I want to start out about the why of the night market. How did we really get here? What was the impetus for this great event that you see today? If you recall, the West Wisconsin Avenue corridor in around 2010 had some challenges. There was a high rate of vacancies, and then the area really kind of faced a historical negative perceptions that we really wanted to address. And so our great mayor at the time, Mayor Tom Barrett, made the redevelopment of the West Wisconsin Avenue corridor a priority. And this was really outlined in the 2010 downtown plan. He appointed local attorney Steve Chernoff to head the West Wisconsin Avenue Milwaukee Development Corporation, while this group really was focused on the long-term redevelopment of the commercial real estate in this area. They knew that they had to shift perceptions in the area. And how do they do that? They needed to get the public to feel comfortable spending time in this corridor. And there really wasn't, if you recall, in 2010, there weren't a lot of street level businesses. There weren't a lot going on after 5 p.m. And so WAM DC really prioritized creating some sort of quick win to get the public back on the avenue. And so that's really where the night market came in. It was to shift people's perception and increase the positive feelings in the street to set the stage for long-term redevelopment of the real estate. Milwaukee, a local agency, was highly involved in the WAMDC movement. And so they took on the task of creating a quick win. And so when they created the night market, the event really was focused the first year on public art. And you'll see some of the activations they did in 2014 when the event started. The event really quickly transformed into a focus that was focused on vendors and entertainment. And it really became the event that you see today. That experiential, transformational, iconic bucket list experience of the Milwaukee summer that Megan will tell you a little bit more about.
Do you want to get into this Urban Institute information, Stace?
Sure. So thank you, Megan. The Urban Institute really, to sum up where we are, did a study that culminated in 2021. And this quote here really sums it up well. The night market's activities helped reimagine a space considered unappealing, unsafe, and inactive, and empowered people to think differently about visiting downtown at night. Multiple stakeholders noted that the night market had prompted people to reassess their views of the neighborhood. So really, the night market was doing exactly what we had intended when WAMDC was started by Mayor Barrett. It was driving positive perceptions of the West Wisconsin Avenue corridor.
All right, and then here is just a snapshot of the last 11 years of the night market. So Milwaukee started the event in 2014 and held their last full season of the market in 2019. The 2020 season was canceled, obviously, due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, Milwaukee had already somewhat been considering, is this possibly the end of the event? They didn't initially set out to create a night market, but it just happened through this process with WAMDC. But the scale that this event grew to was much outside of the scope of what their organization was doing. They had other clients to focus on and things like that. So through the pandemic, they kind of started to identify new partners that maybe would be a good fit to carry on the tradition of the night market. And that's where Westtown Association came in based on our mission of caring for and promoting the Westtown neighborhood. So those discussions for us to assume production started in early 2021. And in a matter of honestly a couple of months, we were able to throw together a single night event in August, just as the social distancing restrictions kind of loosened up in that year. And we had a tremendous turnout. People were just so excited to be back out in the streets together with people celebrating the city. And then in 2022, we returned back to our full season format. And just this last summer, we wrapped up 11 seasons of the night market. And so, what it is today, we operate on 4 Wednesdays each summer, once a month, June through September, from 5 to 9 p.m. And we're located right at the heart of downtown Milwaukee on West Wisconsin Avenue between 2nd Street and Valor Phillips Avenue. And in that about 2.5 blocks there, we're somehow able to fit around 25,000 people per market, which is really just great to see the people that continue to come month after month to support small businesses, eat, drink, shop, all of the fun things. And in 2025, we were able to have 235 different small businesses participate in the market this summer, and that number continues to grow year over year. And this summer, we were also able to bring in a couple vendors from the Madison night market as part of an exchange program that we started this summer, which was very exciting. And then right at the main intersection of the market is our entertainment zone, where we have live musicians, DJs, pop-up performers, anything from, dance groups to acrobats to fire performers. It's really where the energy of the event stems from. And none of that would be possible without our 35 cash and trade sponsors. They are critical to this event, not only financially, but also just having the buy-in of their businesses and their employees wanting to be part of something as special as the night market. It's now to just jump back to the start of the timeline here. This really coincided with the reinvestment of West Wisconsin Avenue. So you can see in the residential space, Westtown neighborhood added 2,600 apartment units since 2013, and 550 of those are right on West Wisconsin Avenue. And in office investment, Westtown has added over 3,000 jobs since 2020. And many of those headquarters that have relocated are either just on or adjacent to the market footprint, including Grafe, Fiserv, and Enerpac. And they have become major supporters of the event because they see it as a benefit for their employees to be a part of it, be right downtown. And this bit here is just from our partners at Milwaukee Downtown that collectively these developments have contributed to over $1 billion in completed, ongoing, or projected proposed projects along Wisconsin Avenue, signaling that robust resurgence in the corridor. And now I will turn it over to Matt and his team.
Yes, thank you, Megan and Stacy, for the excellent presentation of the genesis of the market, why it's important, why it's here. Same, we're going to hear from our friends in Madison. Matt Trammell, Executive Director of Madison Central Business Improvement District.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Jason. Thank you for having us on. I think my voice sounds a little ragged. We were actually at the night market, our last night market of the year, last night, on the street pretty late, although Chris was on the street later than me. So thank you, Chris. But yeah, we had an amazing night. We were very fortunately 5 for 5 on weather this year, and just was an incredible night. And we've actually been doing in our October market a fusion with Science on the Square, which is part of the Wisconsin Science Festival. So in addition to everything that we had last night on the street, we did there was Science on the Square with roughly 50 to 100 experiments, science-related experiments that really brought out a lot of kids and family, and it was just an amazing, beautiful night. So still feeling the buzz of that, and we're really excited about it. But for those of you who don't know, just real quickly, I'm Matt Trammell. I'm the Executive Director of Madison Central Business Improvement District, and the central bid in Madison really comprises all of King Street, the Capitol Square, and kind of the donut streets around it, and then all of State Street, which is from State Capitol all the way down to Library Mall. And so the kind of genesis of the night market really started in 2017, and as everybody pretty much realizes, State Street is the artery, the corollary that really connects downtown, between the Capitol and the university. And really, at the time, I think there was a pretty strong desire from the local business owners, and in the bid, we represent about 350 of those small businesses, to really activate the space in a different way. And so what that really meant was picking a weeknight and not only trying to bring as many people down to enjoy a small market experience. And at the time, it was really on Gilman and State, and started out with maybe 30 or 40 vendors, but really try to bring people out, do something new in the street, in the community. But in addition to the businesses that come out that are part of it, to really celebrate kind of Madison's craft, entrepreneurial spirit. So that is the genesis of it. The way it stands now, we have 5 of these dates per year. We do it in May, June. We skip July because we think everybody is essentially up north in July. And we go back to August, September, and October. So as you can see, we've been bringing out strong crowds. Chris, if you want to advance to next slide. This year, we have about 100 vendors. Actually, last year, we expanded up to Carroll and Mifflin Street. So bringing a lot of new energy to the top of the square. We have 16 food trucks, over 100 local vendors. And then we have, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of businesses who come out in front of their store, and we're currently 50 to 60 of those. So we are seeing record attendance. It continues to build momentum. Those numbers are stronger than what we were seeing even last year, which were record attendance as well. And so the momentum continues to build. I think, after COVID, there's just such a strong desire for everybody to come together in the community, be part of something that's really kind of a quintessential Madison summer experience, much like what's happening in Westtown. And what's really important to us too is those dwell times. This is the amount of time that Placer AI tells us that people are being in the space and lingering. And of course, really the idea is not only to celebrate the local vending community, but even more importantly, is to get people in and out of the businesses that are on State Street. And when we talk to many of the business owners, they're telling us that these are really some of their biggest nights of the year. So it continues to grow. Really excited about it. 25 live music performances through the entire event. You can see a picture of Peace Park there. Those are the kinds of crowds that can come out. And it's really just an attempt to have live music all the way up and down State Street. And again, kind of adds to that vibrancy and that feeling of energy when you're on the street. So a great night last night. Glad to wrap up another season. The exchange with friends over in Milwaukee was something new. We'll talk a little bit more about it. I think we had a successful first year, and really excited to grow that as well. Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. I'm Chris Gabert, the Events and Program Manager at Madison Central Bid. And as the night market continues to grow, we've added a few new activations to this year's series of events. First, we added some theme nights, and this year we celebrated the UW, Madison Sports, Wisconsin and its history, Hispanic Heritage Month, and then last night we closed out with our annual Science on the Square collaboration with the Wisconsin Science Festival. And then we planned activities, some temporary art installations, mini walking tours, and kind of tried to focus our entertainment around those themes each month. It was a really successful way to plan the event. I think we'll carry that forward through next year. We also launched some merch, which you'll see again next year. We started small with some t-shirts and hats. We're going to keep going with that. We held our first rooftop VIP party at Momoka, a museum in the Bid. And we had a sponsor for that event, and it was a success for us and for them. So it's definitely something we'll be exploring again for next year. And then the reason we're speaking today, and probably the most interesting and new activation that we had was the Madison Milwaukee Night Market Exchange, which was a bit of unexpected fun and success for our market this year. This was an idea that was brought to us by the Hone Group, and it was really executed in large part due to their support. So for our market, we hosted 5 vendors in what we called Little Milwaukee, right where State meets Capitol Square. Visit Milwaukee was also slated to attend, but a traffic accident sort of spoiled their plans, but we are definitely hoping for better luck next year. And then we had an amazing band from Milwaukee who headlined our Peace Park main stage. And this was just a nice tiptoe into what we hope will continue to be a strong partnership between the two cities. We got some very positive feedback from our vendors who attended and exhibited at the Milwaukee Night Market on September 10th. It was a good night for them sales wise. And several of them mentioned to me that they really appreciated the ability to get in front of an entirely new market in a new city that they maybe don't have a foothold in yet, but is an interesting place for them to start thinking about some name recognition. And we've gotten a bunch of questions already about whether it's happening next year and what it will take to exhibit in Milwaukee. So I think this gave some good visibility for our Madison small businesses in the bid, as well as our vendors, to start thinking about what's next for their businesses. And that is it for me. I will turn it over.
Excellent. Well, thank you to both Westtown and Madison for your presentations on the night markets. Now I want to get to the panel discussion with our great panelists. We've got, again, Matt, Stacy, Megan, and Chris, who are here with us. We are going to have time for question and answer from the audience. So if you have a question for any of our panelists, submit those questions in the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. So again, we'll ask those questions at the end. So please submit your questions at any time in the Q&A function. All right, first question is, both of your missions, right, are to drive activity, to create vibrancy in the downtowns that you both represent. How does the night market, and you've both touched on in the presentation, but how does it help the local retailers that are there, right? The groups that you're working with, the brick and mortar stores, the restaurants that are in your locations. We'll start with the team in Westtown. How does this help the local businesses that you all represent?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, since we took over the event in 2021, we've continued to increase that vendor base, and it's really great to see not only just the number of local vendors that come out in the footprint, but how they grow year to year. So we've seen some of them, start out as just a pop-up market to now they have their own brick and mortar store, starting out as a food tent and then growing to have their food truck by the next year. But it doesn't just impact the vendors in the market, but it does extend it to the vendors or the businesses in our neighborhood. So with those 25,000 attendees that we have each night, they're also going out and supporting those adjacent businesses and maybe discovering some that if this is the first time that they're coming downtown, they're here for the market and then they're seeing what else our neighborhood has to offer. So they are going out and eating at our bars and restaurants, shopping our other retail storefronts, parking at our parking structures, and staying in our hotels even. And it just shows that having well-attended and well-organized public events like this show that people care about downtown, and it signals our vitality that we can encourage further private investment and development and new businesses opening.
Madison, yes, Matt.
Yeah, thanks. I'll jump on that, and Chris, and if you want to add anything, but yeah, everything that Megan said is right on point. I mean, we're seeing, between 20 upwards of 25, 27, 28,000 people, come to this area between the hours of, roughly 4 and 10 p.m. on these night market nights. And, I think it's becoming kind of ingrained in the Madison culture, as it continues to evolve and grow. I mean, it's starting to kind of build this incredible momentum and energy, and you can just feel it when you're down there. So the businesses are really benefiting from that kind of feeling of community, feeling of vibrancy, and in addition, we really kind of do everything we can to get as many of the businesses. So the businesses who are on State Street and around the Capitol Square, they kind of have what we'd almost call like dibs on coming out in front of their store, and they get to do that as a member of the bid at no cost to them. Whereas the vendors who are coming in do incur some cost to come in, and so we want them to come out in addition to the vendors that are coming in. So it creates this like really amazing fusion of all of the, the best and not only retail stores, but the restaurants and the bars. It just creates this amazing synergy that, you can just kind of feel when you're out there. So again, we have heard anecdotally and with some surveying that we have done that for many of the businesses, these are some of their biggest nights of the year. So, not only are you seeing the kind of the energy on the street, when you walk the street and you look into the stores, you see what's going on. Lots of sales, lots of fun. So that's really what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I would just add too, I think the event really helps to cement the impression that downtown is a positive place to be located for small businesses. We've seen it happen a couple of times where some longstanding night market vendors will come in and open a storefront in the bid as their business continues to grow. And it's happening right now. There is a new restaurant on the 600 block of State Street that is about to open from one of our longstanding food truck vendors. And so I think that's kind of proof to us that that these events are creating positive impressions for downtown.
Well, that I just want to dig in. The next question is about that, right? And about how impactful these are for the respective downtowns. And it's not just the economics, right? Which is very important, right? You just both said, Megan, Matt, Chris, everybody, that this is one of the bigger nights for a lot of the brick and mortar retail and restaurants. But how is this impactful for the downtown in general? Stacy, I'm going to maybe start with you. This helps say downtown is alive, it's vibrant, it does more for the image of the downtown as well. Talk about why that's so important to Westtown. And then, of course, we'll ask the team in Madison as well.
Yeah, I think it really goes to the perception of the neighborhood. I think Westtown historically struggled with, if you know the history of our downtown, Westtown was the neighborhood that was, if you look at downtown, historic Third Ward, Easttown, Westtown was a little late to the game in terms of residential redevelopment, large commercial redevelopment, and as I mentioned in the beginning, had those historical stigmas that were kind of barriers for us, right? And so we really needed to work a little harder to ensure that people wanted to live, work, and play in this neighborhood. And the night market really, I think, it pushed us over the edge in that area. When you look at the residential redevelopment in Westtown in the last decades, it's pretty staggering. We had a lot of Class C office buildings that were sitting on the market that were, not very interesting to businesses wanting to relocate. And so we had developers come in and rehab those, and that's what was really driving the residential. So, Westtown was quickly becoming a very robust neighborhood. We had people living here, which hadn't happened before. So events like this really drive the quality of life. And so, the more positive feelings we can get, to get people, to have a positive experience after 5 p.m. But I also think they go to really shore up the nighttime economy, which we know is a very big piece of what drives downtown's overall economics. It's a huge piece of it. And so to, drive more activity after 5 p.m. So to give people a reason to not get in their car at 5 p.m., to hit the freeway, to stay after work, have a drink, go to the Third Street Market Hall, maybe walk through the new Bradley Symphony Center, which is just a gem on the avenue. Maybe they haven't been to the Symphony before, but the Symphony is often open for tours. They did do a collaboration at the October night market with Wisconsin Public Television. They did a pop-up concert. So experiences like that to really show our new residential base and our downtown employees that downtown is a place you want to stay and linger after 5 p.m.
We kind of in downtown Madison, we have a little bit of a flip of what Stacy is saying. We have a downtown that is rapidly growing as really the key residential area of downtown in the bid. So as everybody who's involved in DMI knows, we're growing up pretty vertically quickly down here. And so what we have is, much less office space, many more residents, and of course, 50,000 students from the University of Wisconsin, in our community. So, we see activation, at all times throughout the day, whether it's visitors who are in downtown, staying in the hotels for conferences or big weekends or the farmers market or everything that goes on, there's big weekend events and all these other things. But then on these weeknights, you really have the community that lives there really kind of take the space back over in a lot of ways, and combine with any other visitors that are here. And so, the whole idea is really just to continue to drive people out, provide not only a sense of vibrancy, but a sense of community. And so I think, when other, people who live around Madison outside of downtown are seeing this, and, we get a lot of media exposure for this event, they're like, wow, we really want to come down there and be down there. And the people who live here are really out there on the street, mixing it up with everybody else. So it really just ends up being this amazing intersection of not only the city, but of every population that's in Madison. And so it becomes an economic driver, on a larger scale.
What great points all around. Stacey, I wanted to follow up with you. I think it's super important, this idea that, downtowns need to create things for people to do, right? That actually is a huge economic development driver. And the nighttime economy. And I have to say, Milwaukee is doing exemplary work, both West Down Association and the Milwaukee Downtown, in really trying to amplify the nighttime economy and give things to people to do in a safe way, right? Because at night, this is a part of that work that you're doing. Why is it so important that downtowns have a strong, robust, and safe nighttime economy and have events like this, like the night markets?
Well, we know that the nighttime economy, from the research, from the data that's out there, drives jobs. And so that there are, and I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's something like a third of all jobs fall within the nighttime economy. And so we know that the nighttime economy is driving the overall economy of Milwaukee. So that's really, really important. But I think it's also just, the nighttime economy, the bars, the restaurants, the event venues that are out there are really tied into other parts of our economy. Our visitors, I mean, we have the new expanded Baird Center, our convention center, which is full. The Visit Milwaukee, I have to give them a shout out. They are filling up that convention center week after week with large conventions, which is then filling our hotel rooms. And what if those visitors, those conventioneers want to do? They want to experience the Milwaukee culture. They're foodies. They want to go to our bars. Obviously, Wisconsin, the beer culture is a part of our history. So that's when you go to an entertainment district like the Old World 3rd Street Entertainment District, you really get a taste of what Milwaukee is really about. And so it's really important for us to invest in our nighttime economy because it's driving our overall economy. We know that.
And just the work that you all have been doing to have the community understand that. I think it's something we can learn from here in Madison. So we're super thankful. Next question I want to ask Chris and Megan is about the night market itself. How do you keep it fresh, right? How do you keep things new? You both are in multiple years of running this, and you're still getting crowds. And honestly, you're getting bigger crowds. And part of that is because you're running new programming, you're doing new things at the night market. So every time someone goes, maybe I went last year, wow, that is new. What new things are you seeing? I know you went over a little bit in the presentation, but what do you do to keep it fresh, to keep it innovative, to keep it interesting so that people keep coming back year after year? Megan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so when we took over the event in 2021, we were careful and wanted to, respect the original formula that Milwaukee put in place to originally build such a successful event. But year by year, we have kind of, taken that as an opportunity to learn and see what new opportunities there are. So after the first year, we expanded the footprint to add another half block on and make that kind of our food truck row area. The year after, we diversified our entertainment, which was what only like DJs. Now we added live musicians into the fold, which has been a great addition. We also have since introduced different theme nights. So we've had a college night for the last 3 years, which coincides with the return of all the downtown universities. We do a student scavenger hunt for them to win a special T-shirt that's designed. This year we did Retro Rewind. But we really want to keep the core of the event the same with the focus on vendors and entertainment, but find little ways to make it interesting and keep engaging people year after year. So we're always looking for the new thing. In terms of how we kind of decide that too, we do a vendor survey at the end of each season and an attendee survey to hear from them, what is it that they think is missing or what is it that they think is going great. And some of the new things were, our next goal would probably be to add some type of public art installation into the footprint. This year, as Stacy mentioned, we worked with the Milwaukee Symphony Center and Milwaukee PBS on doing a pop-up in the Symphony Center, which was great. We also added to our adjacent footprint of the Valor Phillips Plaza. We had a pop-up with Bars and Recreation in Draft & Co., who's a new business that will be opening later this fall at the plaza. So had them come out and do a collaboration over there. So really just, listening to the feedback from our attendees and our vendors and finding the right partners to continue to work with and find ways to grow and engage more.
And I would say we have similar consideration factors in place as our market continues to grow. It tells us that there's something about the fundamental formula that is working. And so we want to make sure that we stay true, as Westtown has said as well, that we stay true to the original intent of the event, that we, present a place for Madison's downtown small businesses and our local craft vendors to meet with our community and to create positive experiences downtown. As the event continues to grow, we have also increased our footprint, which kind of creates a natural need to add new fresh elements to the event site, as the event site is just fundamentally larger than it was in years past. And so this year we really noticed an increase, or I should say last year we noticed more children and families attending our events, which is fun. Obviously that always happens during our Science on the Square event in October. But as we notice more children and families at the event during other months of the year, it kind of impressed on us the need to sort of create some intentional children's programming. And so we worked with the state of Wisconsin to extend our permit onto state grounds, onto Capitol Square, and launch the family activity zone this year, where we've been working with community partners around the city. So Overture Centers, Kids in the Rotunda, Madison Sports and Community Recreation has a bunch of mobile play vehicles. So they brought those out throughout this year. We had a sponsor for that area this year who provided some kids versus adults fitness challenges. And it just created a space for families to kind of start their night market in a place that would be appealing to children. And I think it was actually a boon to that Capitol Square section of our event, which is also only a couple of years old. The event used to be State Street. Now it's State Street and the Y of Capitol Square. And having something on the other side of the street on Capitol Square made that area feel a little fuller. And we've been getting requests this year from vendors, hey, can you put me on Capitol Square instead, which is a change from what we saw in years past. And so I think as we continue to add new activations to the event, not only does it create something new for the attendees to do, but it kind of improves the quality of the entirety of the event, which has been nice to see.
Well, Chris, you said that the kids were supposed to start up there and go to the night market. Well, this family did it backwards. Last night market, our kid ended there, and I got to say he left in tears because he needed to go to bed and he was having so much fun. But that's a personal problem.
You got to start him there and then bore him, with some more adult stuff as he continues on.
You know me, I was running into well, yes.
I do.
Well, what I want to do though is the next question. I am so excited about the exchange between the two night markets, but I want to give a big thank you again to the team at Milwaukee, right, for starting this. I want to give a big thank you. I can't believe I'm saying this to Ian Abston and the team at Hone, Drew and Kim and the entire team. Reagan, just amazing work. But I also really want to say thank you to Tiffany Kinney at Madison Central Business Improvement District, the past executive director who did an amazing job getting this started. Without Tiffany, we wouldn't be here. And Tim Janquin, still part of the bid team who does amazing work. I just want to say thank you to all those folks because without them, we wouldn't have been able to do something this year that was so unique and so cool. Let's talk about that exchange, right? The collaboration, the strong collaboration you now have between these markets, between the organizations and the cities. We started this year with I think it was 5 vendors in each of the two markets. How did that start? And where do you see the future happening? Do you see potential more collaborations and events like this and trying to make both markets better for both of our communities?
I mean, I'll take a stab at that one first. I mean, it really, to my understanding, did come from the work with the home group. So yeah, Jason, thank you for thanking all of them, and we really appreciate it. I mean, the energy was infectious as we planned this thing, and I think kind of did ourselves a favor that we, while we did plan this out, and there was a lot of planning to it, we left enough flexibility in it to just see how it would work. And these things were supposed to be fun. We didn't take it so seriously that it would be some kind of a disaster. If for say somebody coming from Milwaukee gets in an accident on their way over, which did happen. It won't happen next year. But so it gave us this opportunity to try it out, and from my perspective, it worked amazing. I think we obviously know, and that's I think probably the genesis of this entire Madison Milwaukee exchange. We know there's a lot of people from Madison who live in Milwaukee. We know there's a lot of people from Milwaukee who live in Madison, vice versa. And so there are these touchstones of home that they would love to see in the other place. And so I think I don't see anything but growth on this. It's the right idea, it's the right time, and we would love to expand it next year. So I don't know what that means yet. We've been talking about that, and we'll continue to debrief about that. We'd love to hear ideas from anybody on this call about what else we could do, because sometimes we kind of create these ideas in a vacuum, and then other people start understanding it and getting involved. And sometimes the best ideas come from out of nowhere. So we'd love to hear anybody who has great ideas. We can do that.
And I'll add a little bit to that. And just, I know we said we weren't going to give Ian Apson too many kudos, but Ian was a principal at Milwaukee when they launched the night market. And so the night market in Milwaukee runs really deep in that guy's veins. And so he's always thinking about, how this event can be grown and how we can do things differently. And so, he really deserves some kudos for coming up with this concept. So I think for us, it was a really good start in regional collaboration. Like a lot of times we get stuck in our silos of like, we all have small teams. We have to, we have a lot to do, but I think Ian's, inquiry really pushed us to think a little bigger and more regionally. And I think that's really important. And I think there's an opportunity to grow that. And I think while our timeline was a little tight this year in, getting this all done, I mean, we, like the Madison team, we're planning this event year round, and we're going to start right now thinking about 2026. We didn't have a lot of time to execute this, but I think as we look towards 26, we'll have some more time to add, other concepts and, other entities within our cities that are sources of civic pride. I know, looking at potentially, could we bring our sports teams, the Bucks, the Badgers? I know they have large followings in Madison, and we'd love to engage with some of our key partners within our cities to really bring them and feature them to the other cities' population.
Well, I just want to say thank you again. I mean, obviously, as an organization, DMI, we run this event. We believe so much in the exchange between Madison and Milwaukee, and Milwaukee and Madison. It makes both cities so much stronger. We do so many things well here in Madison. You do so many things well in Milwaukee, and we can be so much stronger between the two of us. And events like this matter. And really want to thank, the team at Hone and Ian for making this happen. And in fact, the genesis for this whole series, actually, long story, I won't tell it now, but it actually comes from a Hone event in the middle of COVID. And so we really are so thankful for bringing that together. All right, last question before we get questions from the audience. Again, if you have questions in the audience, please submit those in the Q&A. We'll get to those in just a second. But want to ask the last question about how the markets are going to evolve over the next 5 years. Where do you see the night markets in the next 5 years? What are the opportunities? What are the challenges? How can we continue to grow both of these night markets to help our downtowns?
I think, Jason, one of the ways we think about the night market, one thing concept we talk about a lot in downtown Milwaukee and Westtown as far as the night market is this event is so special and it brings so much energy and so much foot traffic on those 20 hours a year. But how can we really extend that outside of those 4 days? And one thing we've talked about is how is there an opportunity to really rethink this in terms of a year-round program in terms of activating under in vacant storefronts, some sort of micro pop-up retail, setup that would further extend the reach of this really special event and, bring those 200 vendors into our downtown, to consider more permanent and year-round activation. So that's something we've definitely talked about that's on our horizon. It's, with a small team, there's always, challenges with making that happen. But I think that would really be the next step for us in terms of like incubating small businesses and extending the reach of the night market.
Yeah, I'll have a couple things, and Chris, if you have anything to add too, I think from our perspective, it's really really important that we keep the night market centered on the success of the storefronts that are in the bid. Certainly, we want it to be a successful night for everybody, of course, including the vendors who make all this happen. But we continue to talk to the business owners to understand, look, is there any other ways we should be tying in what the programming is for the night to help get folks into your stores, because again, it not only is it about the vibrancy that we're creating in the community and make sure everybody's coming down and enjoying downtown, but it is at the root of it, trying to make sure that we're shopping locally, not only with the vendors, but the businesses that are already there. It's critically important. So we're constantly talking about that and trying to figure out and listen to the business owners. What else can we do? The other thing I would say is, there is more demand for vendors than we have capacity to provide. So we have roughly 100 spots per market, and on any given night market, we have roughly 150 to 175 vendors applying to be in the market. So we're constantly changing vendors. Some of them have multiple nights that they do all year. But that being said, we know there's room to continue to expand if that makes sense. We also don't want it to be so big, that it kind of overwhelms things. Well, we have talked about, will we do maybe a mini version of this on the King Street side? We are kind of, our geography is State Street and the top of the Capitol Square. Would we do something smaller in another portion of the bid? That's one thing that we've been talking about. Chris, did you have anything else?
I would just say the King Street discussion is ongoing, and I think that's top of mind for me. We've also kind of been discussing after the success of the sponsor events at the rooftop of Momoka, whether there's opportunity to bring some of the activity inside some of the businesses through special activations. Parthenon Euros has a really cool rooftop as well. So are there ways to kind of bring people inside and sort of make like easy ingress and egress from street to store to kind of encourage that kind of behavior as well.
Actually, a perfect segue to our first question here from the audience. It's about types of accommodations for that are present for people with various disabilities. Is things like, is there parking closer to events, plenty of seating areas? Are there potential resources with organizations like Arts for All Wisconsin here in Madison or Pink Umbrella in Milwaukee? What are you all doing to make this event as accessible as possible?
I
I
would
can
say
take
we,
that one. Oh,
oh,
go
okay.
ahead.
I'll just mention that we do, have a dedicated parking structure which is accessible, like within probably, Megan, I'd say a half block of the footprint that we promote to attendees. It's a thanks to our partners, give a shout out at the Avenue and Interstate Parking. They provide a set $3 rate for attendees to park, and that is, accessible for all. We do have a set amount of seating within the footprint, although the one challenge I would have to say is that our crowds can get extremely dense during the event. And that can be a challenge, and one that we think about in terms of ADA as well as just regular attendees. Sometimes the market can be difficult to navigate because of the crowd size. So we're always looking at the size of the footprint too. Can we add on another block to spread things out a little bit so that it makes it easier to navigate the crowd?
Similarly, our event site is located near several parking structures, and they all have accessible parking. But we also work really closely with the city on the ADA requirements for the event site. The city of Madison requires a 6 foot clearances on all sidewalks, and so we do a pre-event walkthrough of the event site to make sure that each of our vendors it has set up their tent in their space in a way that abides those regulations and those accommodations, so that the sidewalk as well as the street, because we've got the street, the tents, and then the sidewalks on the outside. And so we do a walkthrough to make sure that those sidewalks are staying clear and accessible, and that we're not creating choke points that create difficulty for our attendees with disabilities.
Yeah, no, for sure. At least Madison Central Business Improvement did participate in DMI's Beyond Compliance Task Force work on making festivals and events more accessible, and we have a whole guide there as well. So certainly can share that out with everybody on how to make these events as accessible as possible. All right, this next question is a big one. We've only got a couple of minutes, but I think it actually is an important question about what the work that we're doing. What efforts are in place to create more than bars and restaurants opening in the evenings in both bids downtown? I think that's a really big question and kind of talks about the night market and sort of bringing folks down. Certainly start with either side on that big question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And as Stacy said, talking about the night economy, obviously critically important. And obviously what we see in Madison is different characteristics of the bid at different times of the day. And so while there are a lot of bars and restaurants in the area, we also have a really great opportunity with all the cultural venues that are in downtown, right? Whether it's the Overture or the Orpheum or the Bartelli Theater, I mean, MMOCA, they're on and on and on, the Children's Museum. So there are all of these other places that are bringing live entertainment. And of course, we try to bring as much live entertainment as well, just to get people either going from an event to a restaurant or vice versa. Really try to extend, if you're coming down here, to shop, that you, again, dwell and stay down here. Or if you're going to out to eat, and get you over into a retailer. So as all of these activations that we're doing really do have that through line, which is to really get people to use downtown for all of the different assets that it has.
And I would echo that. I think downtown Milwaukee has more per capita theater and cultural seats than any, city of its peer size. So, and we're now adding to that coming into next February with the newly announced Landmark Credit Union Live Arena in the Deer District. We have major entertainment and public assembly buildings like the Fiserv Forum, like Turner Hall. And so those drive a lot of activity, in the evening, like along with our sports franchises, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Admirals, the Wave, the UWM Panther Arena. And there's a lot of correlation between those entities and our bars and restaurants. They are driving traffic back and forth between, and so it's a very symbiotic relationship. I think, so in terms of our nighttime economy and our bars and restaurants, it's very robust in Westtown. We're also always with our partners at Milwaukee Downtown looking at opportunities to build our retail, street level retail up within Westtown and downtown as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I can say in Madison here too, we've seen some new businesses open, right, that are more nighttime based that aren't fully alcohol. There's alcohol sold at them, but you've got places like Five Iron at Social, you've got Double Tap Arcade Bar, you've got the Guild, right, which is a gaming location. I think it's great. We need to create as many opportunities as possible. All right, last question. We only got a couple minutes left. Is for Megan and for Chris. How early do we set the dates for 2026, and how do potential folks that want to be involved in this connect with your organizations to be part of the night markets? Megan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so we are usually looking at our dates for the next year as early as like the year that we're currently in. So in Milwaukee, with the number of festivals that we have in the city, we always want to be very conscious that we're not like competing with one another. We all want to support each other's events. So we always kind of take a look at the calendar to see what else is going on, and that's kind of how we strategically line up our dates. So it's not super consistent year to year, but it still will always be that one Wednesday a month, June through September. And in terms of involvement, if you're looking to be a vendor or an entertainer, those applications for the 2026 season go live. Vendor will be in mid-February and stays open for about a month, and we do our curation in mid-March. But we do keep our application open throughout the rest of the summer, and we have a very strong wait list as well in case there are cancellations. There's always opportunities for a business to get involved really at any point of the year. Performers as well, that is mid-March to mid-April is the curation. And if you're looking to be involved in sponsorship as well, we are always having those discussions pretty much at any point.
Our process is very similar. We do at this point have tentative dates set. We haven't announced them yet, so I probably won't break that news here. But they will be May, June, August, September, October, as usual. And that announcement will be made in Q1 of next year. As of right now, if you go to madisonnightmarket.com, at the bottom of the page, you will find a form to express your interest in exhibiting next year, in vending at the market next year. So you're welcome to fill out that form right now. That'll get you on our early list. And then we will, again, in Q1 of next year, launch the application for vendors for the 2026 night markets. And we'll make sure to reach out to anybody who filled out that early interest form so that they get kind of first crack at applying for the 26th night market. And then similarly, we keep our applications open. This year, we ended up closing them about halfway through the season just because we had so many applications that it was just unlikely that anybody who applied late was going to make it into any of the later month dates. So I would just encourage, if you're going to apply early. It helps us to set the schedule for each month.
Well, a huge thank you to our friend. Oh, yes, Matt.
I'm gonna say one more thing, because
if it's about the Cubs, we don't want to hear it.
it's not.
But
It's
okay,
not.
cool.
We're talking about next year on that. That's
Okay,
okay.
good.
But since we are talking about next year, I will talk about sponsorship. We are seeing more sponsorships come in. It's becoming a very popular event to be associated with. And I would just say that we are talking about those things all year round. So if anybody wants to talk about that, and we can be super creative, and we have been, about what kind of exposure and branding that we can provide corporate organizations or anybody who wants to be associated with the event. So let me know.
Absolutely. Well, thank you to our friends at Madison Central Business Improvement District, Matt and Chris, and our friends at the Westtown Association, Stacy and Megan, for putting on amazing events. These are not easy to run. Let me just be very clear to all of our public. They are not easy to run, but they add so much to our downtowns. They add so much vibrancy, economic strength, equity, inclusion, you name it. They do so much for our downtown. So thank you for all you do for our downtowns. And thank you to all of you for joining us today for our third in our Madison and Milwaukee Downtown Exchange. There'll be one more in December. We'll see you then. If not, we'll see you downtown sometime soon. Have a wonderful day and a great weekend. Thank you all for joining us. Bye now.